Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the penultimate episode of the CITV saga for the Centennial Square Townhomes Project. To make sure you have a front row seat to the last episode in this series, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below, together with a reminder bell. And when we post the reveal episode, which will include a recap journey and interviews with all the major players connected with this project, you will be able to tell your grandchildren that you were there. I will save all the emotion of being involved in a 4-year project for the next episode. In the meantime, this episode covers the final construction elements of the garages and the creation of the landscaping, which I've got to tell you is absolutely beautiful. Then there is the pouring and the building of the concrete sidewalks, the changing of the lighting. Yeah, we changed the lighting. The stair staining, which is an art in itself, and the completion of the swimming pools and the sprinkler systems and other bits and bobs, including resurfacing half of Osceola Park Lane, which we were strong-armed into by one egotistical, overzealous blowhard at the city. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. As we enter one of the final phases of the Centennial Square project, we are focusing now on the last bit of hardscaping, laying the concrete sidewalk that runs between the curb, the grass and the property line. It's a narrow stretch, but it completes the visual and functional transition from the street to the driveway pavers. Now, before any concrete gets poured, there's some key prep work to do. What you're watching here is the setup of form boards. These wooden planks are laid out to outline exactly where the concrete will go. They create a clean, contained shape for the sidewalk and hold the wet concrete firmly in place until it cures. Curing is more than just drying. It's a chemical process that takes several days and requires moisture to set properly. A typical sidewalk like this takes around 24 to 48 hours before it can be walked on, and a full 7 days or more to reach structural strength. Back to what you're seeing here. Workers are clearing and levelling the ground, making sure it's compacted and graded correctly so that water drains away from the homes, not toward them. Then each form board is measured, cut and carefully positioned. Stakes are hammered into the ground and nailed through the boards to hold everything firmly in place. Accuracy here is critical. Even the slightest misalignment can cause the finished concrete to crack, shift or look uneven once it sets. We're giving the old curb on 4th Avenue a haircut using a circular saw. This lets us butt the new sidewalk right up against the neighbour's existing curb for a seamless professional finish. The concrete truck drum is spinning to keep the mix in constant motion so it doesn't set too early as we attempt to pour the sidewalk. This truck carries 10 cubic yards of concrete mix, which is roughly 270 cubic feet of concrete, more than enough for what we need today. And here comes the first pour. The concrete flows down through what's called a chute, an articulated arm that extends from the truck and guides the mix directly where it's needed. Workers use it to control the flow and placement between the form boards with as little mess as possible. Once it lands, they immediately jump in with rakes and come-alongs, which are flat-headed tools designed to pull and push the concrete into place. They spread it evenly across the formwork's width, ensuring it reaches every edge and corner. This is all about speed and precision. Concrete starts setting fast, so getting it adequately distributed and levelled right from the get-go is critical. And for the need-to-knows out there, and why shouldn't you want to know that inside the truck drum, spiral blades mix the ingredients as it rotates one way and pushes the concrete out when it spins in reverse. It's a precise science. The rotation, angle and speed all ensure the concrete stays workable and consistent until it's ready to pour. Right now, the crew is carefully working the concrete around an electrical utility cover on 4th Avenue. They're making sure it sits flush and the concrete is packed tightly around the edges. We'll get into the smoothing and finishing process in just a moment. The tool you're seeing is called a ball float. It's a long, flat metal or plastic blade on a pole used to smooth out the concrete surface and push down any aggregate, leaving a clean, level finish. As we move further down 2nd Avenue, you'll notice the concrete is being poured into smaller 4-foot sections separated by horizontal form boards. These are called control joints and they are essential. They allow the concrete to expand and contract with temperature changes and help prevent cracking over time by directing where natural stress breaks can occur. This is the concrete driveway entrance for the middle unit on Southeast 2nd Avenue. And yes, I know I have called it 2nd Avenue multiple times before in these videos, but you all know where I am talking about, so there is no need for snippy comments, all right? Now, back to the pour. You'll notice the driveway is sloped gently toward the road. That's intentional. The crew uses straight edges and trowels to shape a gradual incline, allowing rainwater to flow off the property and into the street. It's all part of smart grading to prevent pooling or runoff issues. And this worker is doing the last leg of Southeast 4th Avenue. Yes, I know I call it 4th Avenue, but who cares? Only the Uber driver, right? But we aren't finished yet. Oh no, let me show you. With the concrete now semi-set, firm but still workable, the crew removes the temporary crossbeam form boards that divided the pour. In their place, they insert expansion joints, which are usually made of a flexible material like rubber, foam, or fiberboard. These joints are critical. They give the concrete room to expand and contract, with heat and moisture changes preventing cracks or buckling over time. Installing them while the concrete is still pliable ensures a tight fit and a clean professional finish. Now comes the strangely satisfying part. The stakes are being pulled from the ground and the form boards peeled away, revealing crisp, clean edges. It's like unwrapping a concrete present. And finally, 48 hours later. Well, actually, I'm lying. This is a week later. There was a bus strike. All right, I'm lying again. Landscaping and additional fencing totally screwed me over. But hey, we're here now. You'll notice the concrete's colour has lightened. That's part of the curing process. Over the first few days, moisture evaporates and the surface hardens. But true curing, that takes up to 28 days for full strength. Anyway, at the end of the day, we are talking concrete here. Not a Picasso, but cool to see the process and how it turned out. It was fun doing it. So the day arrived when the egomaniac at the Delray Beach City Engineering Department got his way, and we ended up resurfacing half of Osceola Park Lane. Well, the part directly opposite our property. Amazingly enough, he came back the following week after this road was laid and said, "Why didn't we repair the other half? It was explained to him that you told us we didn't have to." He asked his colleague, who was with him at that time, and was with him again, if this was what he said. And his colleague confirmed that we only had to do half. For a brief minute, he considered changing his mind, but thankfully, the all-powerful irritant didn't say another word. That said, this is a milling machine that grinds off the old, allegedly damaged asphalt. This removes cracks, bumps and uneven spots, creating a level surface for the new road. It also makes sure everything lines up perfectly with curbs, drains and manholes. After milling, a machine with a heavy metal brush sweeps the surface clean. It scrubs away loose debris, dust and old asphalt chunks to create a clean textured base for the new asphalt to bond properly. You'll notice a worker spraying water near the brush. That's to keep the dust down and help the brush pick up fine particles more effectively. Next, a tack coat is sprayed over the milled surface. This thin, sticky layer acts like glue, helping the new asphalt bond firmly to the base. Without it, the new layer could slide, crack, or break loose over time, so it's a critical step for making the road last. Asphalt made from rock, sand and asphalt binder is fed from a dump truck and into this paving machine. It then heats the mix and spreads it evenly across the surface at just the right thickness. The workers walking behind the paver with small rakes are smoothing the edges and correcting any imperfections before the asphalt starts to cool and harden. Once the asphalt is laid, it's time for compaction. This cat roller moves back and forth over the fresh surface, using its weight of 8,000 pounds to press everything tightly together, removing air pockets and, for want of a better word, squishing the materials to make the surface density good enough to handle vehicle traffic. This worker is using a hand-driven compactor, which is crucial for tight spots where the roller can't get to, especially along the edges where the new asphalt meets the old surface. It helps press the fresh asphalt tightly into the seams, ensuring a strong bond and no gaps that could crack open later, where water could seep in and start breaking the road apart over time. Okay, nothing is left to do except sweep up the few bits of asphalt rock, clean up the road, hide all the evidence that someone's notebook from the city may be under the asphalt, and move on like nothing's happened. I think you understand the metaphor. The final stages of finishing off these floating stairs kicked off at the beginning of March, and for those of you who've been following along, watching the stair treads being painstakingly crafted by hand, you're going to love seeing how this all wraps up. First up, masking. We've got to tape off all the parts of the stringers where we definitely don't want any of the stain to end up. Here, you can see the craftsman methodically masking off every single inch that needs protecting. And let me tell you, it's a hell of a job. We're talking 3 full floors of stairs in each townhome, and with 3 townhomes in total, that's almost 100 treads. Don't quote me on that number. I should double check the stair tread video I made months ago, but as I'm narrating this right now, it's late at night, and honestly, I just can't be asked. Anyway, staining these beauties isn't a one and done deal. This whole thing is a 3-stage process, starting with the prep work you're watching right now. Alright, so what you're watching here is the craftsman working a slightly off-white stain into these beautiful white maple treads. Now, maple's a stubborn little bastard with a tight grain that doesn't like to soak up stain evenly. That's why we're not just slapping it on with a brush. First, the stain gets rubbed in nicely and evenly with a rag, flooding the surface a bit, and then the craftsman goes over it with a sponge to wipe off the excess and even it all out. This stops it from looking blotchy. Now, the important point here is that it's just one coat of stain. Maple doesn't need, or frankly want, a second coat. You start piling it on and it just goes patchy and weird. So one good coat, wipe it back and leave it the hell alone. After that, we let it dry for about 6 to 8 hours overnight if possible, before moving on to the top coat. Then comes the final touch, a flat polyurethane top coat. No high gloss showroom floors here, just a clean, natural finish that looks sharp without screaming for attention. A couple layers of that, a little gentle sanding in between, and these stairs will be ready to show off. And there it is, 3 full floors of handcrafted floating stairs, brought to life exactly as we imagined, from concept to plan to flawless reality. They're not just a way to get upstairs, they're the centerpiece of these multi-million-dollar townhomes, designed to catch your eye and hold it. We couldn't be happier with how they turned out, a bold vision, built step by beautiful step. Here at the edge of the Centennial Square project, the landscapers are finishing up, smoothing out the terrain and laying down rich topsoil around the perimeter. This not only preps the ground for new planting, but also helps shape clean sculpted lines that frame the entire development. It's the polish before the greenery. Inside the side yard at the end unit, the crew is levelling and shaping the soil, prepping it for planting and a clean finished look. Here comes the first delivery of trees, and we think they are gumbo limbo. The landscape company owner never found the time to walk us through what was being planted, so Savannah spent a few hours figuring out as many plants as she could. Pigeon plum, elephant ears, and what we think is purple fire spike are on show here. But hey, knock yourself out in the comments and tell us we're wrong. That's what YouTube is for, you sad bastards. And over here, Savannah's best guess is small leaf clusia and horizontal coca plum. If she's wrong, you know what to do. Get typing. My guess, this is a wheelbarrow. It also needs oiling. And here is our old friend Purple Fire Spike. And the pigeon plum trees are now covering up our sales team. Not the brightest idea. Everyone knows these plants are called Bird of Paradise. And the smaller plants are horizontal coca plum. Well, that's what the photos on my cheat sheet read. Look, to be honest, trying to name every single plant is starting to feel a bit like punishment. I was this close to sneaking in a marijuana bush just to see if anyone would notice. And honestly, it was 50-50. The little devil on my shoulder won that round, I can't help myself. But dodgy British humour aside, the crew planting all of this has done an absolutely fantastic job. It's back-breaking work, especially in this heat. So hats off, or better yet, hats on to them for pulling it off so well. This is a week's worth of hard work, plus a few days of tidying up. Failure to get this planted right the first time results in many dead, expensive plants. These individual Colusia trees weigh 100 to 120 pounds, depending on the soil and root ball. It's definitely not a one-man job. These were the ones that needed the skid steer to help them safely from the truck to their new home at the Osceola Park Lane property. Workers had carefully dug deep enough holes around the inside yard perimeter to receive these lovely trees. You can see why the skid steer is so useful in tight situations around a condensed backyard footprint. It effortlessly moves through the fence opening on its way to deposit the fledgling tree by the swimming pool. This tree will grow to between 30 and 40 feet. Now the worker backfills the soil around the tree, securing it in place. Meanwhile, further trees of the same type are being planted along Osceola Park Lane, and now you can see the whole Centennial Square project transforming into a lush green oasis before our eyes.
I started right after.
And bombing down the road at a fair old rate is one of the 3 Alexander palms, destined for the front driveway of the middle unit on South East 2nd Street. Originally, there were just 2 palms on this part of the site, close to where they are now, but not quite in line with the new landscape plan. So they had to be carefully dug up, shifted slightly north, and replanted to make room for the 3rd palm you just saw tearing it down the road like it had somewhere important to be. Looks good, no? It makes the middle unit very sexy in my opinion. And all the plants surrounding the base of the palm trees just complement the whole scene. And of course, the sales banner just finishes off the look. And now, the finishing touch Citra Blue Sod, or turf as we call it in the old country. Developed by the University of Florida, this variety of St. Augustine grass is known for its deep blue-green colour and its ability to hold that colour even in the hottest months. It's a tough little number too. Drought tolerant, disease resistant and slower growing than traditional Augustine sod, which means less mowing. It establishes quickly, handles foot traffic well, and gives the whole site that lush, just finished look. A proper bit of greenery to wrap things up. Everywhere you look, teams of landscapers are planting, seeding and bringing to life what can only be described as lush. I know it is an overused word, but honestly, there is no better way to describe it. It completely transforms the site. When I filmed this segment a few weeks ago, we were about 90% finished. And the next clip you will see was taken about a week later. Still a few odds and ends to tidy up, but boy, just take a look. Hey guys, don't forget there's only one episode left of the Centennial Square Townhome Project. Don't miss it. Hit the subscribe button and the reminder bell below so you will be there for this historic event. In addition, by hitting the subscribe button, YouTube and Facebook will pay me millions of dollars, which I desperately need. So don't forget, go on, do it now. This door alarm is critical. It alerts you the moment the pool area is accessed. New owners do not disable it. It's a safety essential, especially with kids. The workers applying dark grey plaster behind the wall feature. Once dry, it will be painted white using waterproof exterior grade paint. Extra care is being taken not to get any plaster or paint on the pool electronics mounted on the wall. I don't understand why they didn't plaster and paint the wall before adding all the electronics and conduit. Strange. Answers on a postcard, please. This is Major League Pool Plastering Specialists, one of the top teams in South Florida. On the back of their dust-covered truck are 80-pound bags of Florida Blue Gem, a premium quartz finish known for its durability, smooth texture and vibrant watercolour. This worker is cutting the ends of the return and suction pipes flush with the wall. These are part of the pool's circulation system, and trimming them allows for a smooth, even plaster finish. That metal grate on top of the mixer helps break up and filter the plaster as it's dumped in, preventing clumps and debris from getting into the mix. The machine then blends the plaster with water to a smooth, workable consistency before it's poured into the pool. Clean mix in, clean finish out. Time for the wellies and spikes. Meanwhile, the mix is cooked and ready to be poured into the wheelbarrow, where yours truly got splattered. Together with my camera and Gucci loafers. Actually, I don't really own Gucci loafers. I was trying to show off, but I did get shit all over me and had to go home and change. And there it goes. Go on, try swimming in that, mate. Once the plaster is poured, the crew has about 2 to 4 hours to work with it before it begins to set. It's a tight window. Every inch needs to be smooth, and even before it starts hardening, or the finish won't be right. They use trowels to push and pull the mix into a uniform surface, working quickly but with precision. Any delays or uneven spots can lead to discoloration or rough patches, so timing and teamwork are everything. This guy with the wheelbarrow is an animal. Relentless, load and pour, load and pour. Time after time. It's like a ballet, really, a messy one with no tutus. Well, there once was a guy that. Okay, that's a story for another time. What you're watching now is the final application of Florida Blue Gem plaster across the entire pool shell. This is a quartz-based plaster, which means It's made with crushed quartz aggregate mixed with white cement. It's known not just for its durability, but for the way it reflects light to give that crisp blue shimmer once filled with water. As the workers move around, they're troweling the plaster in a smooth, consistent layer about 3/8 of an inch thick. They have to work fast and methodically because the mix starts to cure within just a few hours. Any missed spots, ridges, or uneven areas can cause permanent texture issues or mottling, which is that patchy look you sometimes see in older pools. The team is constantly checking their finish from different angles, smoothing, reapplying, and blending until every surface is uniform. It's a mix of strength, speed, and finesse, and it's critical for the final look of the pool. What you're seeing now is the final wash phase. The workers are using sponges to gently wipe the surface of the plaster, revealing the quartz beneath and evening out the texture. Those sponges on their feet, they help prevent footprints or damage to the soft, uncured plaster as they move around the pool. It's all about a light touch and preserving the flawless finish. Now comes the acid wash. The worker is applying a diluted mix of muriatic acid and water to the freshly plastered pool surface, usually about a 1:1 or 1:2 ratio, depending on the finish. This mixture helps remove any surface film or plaster dust left behind from troweling. It also lightly etches the surface, bringing out the vibrant colour and quartz texture in the plaster. The acid is applied by bucket and even with a watering can to get even coverage without oversaturating any one spot. Once the acid has done its job, the entire pool is thoroughly rinsed with fresh water to neutralise the acid and flush everything out. That greenish liquid you see draining is the rinse water mixed with plaster dust and a bit of leftover acid solution. This step is crucial for getting that clean, even sparkling finish you expect in a luxury pool. The pool is filled immediately after the acid wash. No drying time needed. That pink bottle? It's a startup conditioner that stabilises the water chemistry as the pool fills, then dissolves on its own. The green tint is normal after plastering. It's just plaster dust and minerals. The filters clear it in 3 to 5 days, and it's safe to swim after about 72 hours once the water chemistry is balanced. 3 days later, here it is in all its glory. From the balcony you can see that crystal blue shimmer. Down at ground level, the water feature is roaring to life, turning this backyard into a private resort. A perfect finish to a luxury build. Here we go. In the garage of the end unit on Osceola Park Lane, the installers gets to work like mad scientists in a lab. First into the bucket goes part A and part B of the epoxy resin. One is the base, the other is the hardener, and once they're together, the clock starts ticking. He gives it a thorough mix, making sure those components marry up properly before tossing in the anti-slip additive, which looks like fine powder but adds crucial grit to the finished floor. The colour here is a classic medium grey, neutral, sleek and forgiving on the eyes. Once everything is blended to a smooth consistency, it's ready to roll. Literally. Before any epoxy hits the floor, there's a bit of behind-the-scenes magic. After mixing the initial batch, the installer transfers the liquid into a larger container. That might seem redundant, but it's all about consistency. Larger buckets allow for a more thorough mix, reducing the chance of unmixed pockets that could cause weak spots later. Then you'll see him brushing the base of the garage walls. This isn't just freehand painting for fun. It's likely a primer or base coat to help the epoxy grip properly where the roller can't reach. That edge work matters. Next, blue tape goes up along the garage perimeter about 6 inches from the floor. That's to give a clean level line where the epoxy will coat up the wall slightly, forming what's called a cove base. It protects the lower wall from scuffs, water, and anything else a garage might throw at it. With the cove base freshly coated in epoxy, in go the flakes. Made from white vinyl, They're hand pressed into the wet epoxy to add texture, depth and a bit of flair. Now things are kicking off properly. The crew is moving onto the floor, and if you're wondering why they're walking around in what look like medieval golf shoes, those are spiked shoes designed for epoxy work. They let the installers walk directly over the wet epoxy without disturbing the finish, since the spikes make minimal contact. One guy is brushing epoxy right into the tight floor corners where a roller or squeegee won't reach. Meanwhile, another worker starts spreading the epoxy using a notched squeegee on a long handle, working out from the edges. This tool ensures an even layer across the surface and helps control the thickness of the pour. It's a meticulous process, and every movement here is about creating a smooth, seamless finish. Now comes the fun part, flake time. Our installer is broadcasting white acrylic flakes across the wet epoxy. And yes, that's the real term for it. Think of it like broadcasting seeds across a field. The flakes are thrown up and out in a wide arc, so they flutter down evenly instead of clumping in one spot. This technique creates a consistent textured surface that's not only slip resistant but also hides imperfections and gives the floor its signature look. Every handful is part art, part technique, and it all comes together once the epoxy sets. After curing overnight, a circular hand trimmer cleans the epoxy edge, giving it a sharp, professional finish. The installer is mixing the top coat, combining clear epoxy resin, hardener and UV stabilizer to stop the top coat from yellowing. It turns into a milky, translucent liquid when blended with a drill. The result, a smooth, even finish that seals and protects the flake layer. Now the top coat is going down. The installer pours it directly from the container onto the floor, then spreads it using a wide squeegee with a long wooden handle. This tool helps lay the coat evenly and control the thickness. Once it's spread out, he goes over the surface with a white epoxy roller to smooth everything out and catch any missed spots. As he rolls, it might pick up a bit of dust or debris, which is completely normal at this stage and gets blended in or removed during touch-ups. The result is this high gloss mirror-like finish that completely transforms the space. It's sleek, durable and just looks incredible. It's so beautiful that if it were left to me, no car tyre would go near this. This middle unit driveway really looks the donkey's doodahs. Translated, it is akin to the cat's meow. But what I am happy to report is the last part of the townhome middle unit circular driveway was laid mid-March. I can now tell you it's completed. No more paving. It's all done. I'll show you everything in the reveal episode. But I will miss those masonry grinders and the tap-tapping as the pavers are put into place like a giant jigsaw. But the guys did a great job, as you will see soon. I wanted to show off how lovely the elevators are, so I called it. Whoa! Wasn't expecting that. A bloody shopping bag cut up. Okay, let's give it a go then. Take off. Appreciate, this is not the most riveting segment I've ever shown you, but work with me on this, will you? Look, it's not the best experience I have ever had, but you will see the finished product in all its glory next episode. As I mentioned in the last episode, we made the call to switch up all the lighting, bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens and great rooms in both the middle and end unit on Southeast 4th Avenue. We went with a bit of a restoration hardware vibe this time. Not necessarily an upgrade, more of an alternative. It's one of those subjective things. Some folks preferred the original look, others are loving the new one. You can't please everyone, but we think it looks sharp. These are the light fittings we're putting in all the bathrooms. And it's taken the installers, or shall we call them the uninstallers and reinstallers the best part of the week, to satisfy our designers, whimsical notions, but I mean, they do look nice. Nicer than the other fittings, I don't know, you let me know. The installer is doing the obvious here, measuring the height to the imaginary table and also the placement in the ceiling span for the great room light. I fully expect that whoever buys this centre unit townhome will choose their own fitting. At the end of the day, it's all personal choice, but here's some mood music for you to watch the lights go by. Don't tear up. Who left that bloody ladder there? Morons. Oh Lord. And now we arrive at the final piece of the landscaping puzzle, the sprinkler system. On the ground you'll see white PVC pipes waiting patiently beside freshly dug trenches, like they know exactly where they're going. Those vertical plastic tubes poking up from the soil, that's our clue. The sprinkler heads are about to make their debut. The sprinkler system is now fully complete and the water is arcing gracefully over the shrubbery, bringing everything to life across the townhomes of Centennial Square. It's not just for show. This system's the silent workhorse, keeping our new landscaping lush, green and slightly smug looking. And just before we fade to black, one last moment of zen. A single gumbo limbo tree getting its drink of water. Because even the rock stars of the plant world need a little love. We're in the backyard of the Osceola Park Lane townhome where a post-construction survey is taking place. One surveyor is positioned near the rear fence behind the pool equipment wall, holding a prism pole. That's the rod with the orange reflective disc. It acts as a target for measurement. The second surveyor operates a total station on a tripod. This device shoots a laser toward the prism to calculate exact distances and angles. He moves back and forth to confirm alignment with specific boundary points. They are verifying that the pool, fence and equipment are correctly placed within the property line and setback limits. It's a critical step to ensure everything complies with the approved site plan, and it's required to close permits, issue occupancy certificates and update the property records.
Well, that's it for this episode anyway. Construction is finished with just the final clear up and the bashing out of the punch out list, which in itself can take some time. I'm looking forward to seeing and meeting the new owners of the Centennial Square Townhomes, as I'm sure will all our investors. And I'll see you next episode for the complete roundup and journey look back. Until then.